In this video, I want to discuss everyday wellness, and in particular, I want to discuss personal relations and universal relations that we make regarding subject and object and our direct experiences with the environment and various aspects in the environment in which we make these associations to linking our subjective experience to objects within the surroundings, as well as the wholesome aspects of our environment and the environment holistically, regarding every objective component potentially, and also how that influences perception, both in regards to our central perceptions and our peripheral perceptions, what we might loosely be aware of on the periphery, and also what we focus on and what we have more clear attention on, this more centralizing to our perceptions. And personal relations have more to do with this subject and subjective end of the continuum regarding subject-object relations, and how we cultivate meaning through personal associations, and the meaning that we find that is valuable to us as individuals, cultivating a greater sense of meaningfulness through the development of meaning processes, meaning that it can occur through the development of interest and fostering that interest in active experiences of interest that have sudden and immediate onsets, as well as various processes such as curiosity that can deepen meaning, and learning as well that can help to expand meaning through associations and various links and connections that we make, as well as broadening it internally through various entailments and extensions, and also knowledge that we can gather from meaning that's direct, that helps to increase our self-intelligence ultimately through developing greater self-knowledge, which allows us to make these subjective-objective relations to the environment as immediate, as well as object-subject relations that help and ground our perceptions within the environment through associations that we often will through our perceptions, and then we make deliberately through conscious, deliberate processes of processing that form these subjective-objective synthesis, and which can deepen it through understanding our own subjective relations to these objects and aspects of the environment. And as we develop greater awareness of these various object and subjective relations and how they impact ourselves, and also what they mean to us as individuals, we can really start to learn how to navigate our own well-being more effectively, lowering the frequency and the magnitude of how these subjective and objective relations impact our own personal perceptions, motivations, emotions, feelings, actions, and the meaning that we perceive, or the sum total of our experience and how we feel in regards to a particular situation or circumstance or states of being, that all encompass well-being, and which can convey information as well as knowledge on how to effectively regulate well-being in regards to us as individuals and the self in particular, in relation to all these different subjective-objective relations that are occurring in relation to our perceptions, involving us as a perceiver in relation to an environmental surroundings with various components that can be processed through our direct precepts of primarily of the self. And as we start to form more of these personal relations, we cultivate more of a meaningful process that is direct to the self. But when we come to understand and form universal relations, we start to connect ourselves more to the surrounding environment, which can cultivate meaning and purpose in relation to these personal relations that we form in relation to universal relations. And often it's the personal relations that are important for developing and broadening what's perceived to be meaningful, while the universal relations are necessary and often highly important for broadening personal relations in terms of developing a greater sense of purposefulness in association to the self, in regards to what is natural and what is part of the natural self. And in this regards, we can start to connect ourselves more to what's direct to our surrounding experience, and what has these universal subjective-objective relation properties, as well as subject-object relations that have these universal centralizing elements that transcend aspects of both the universal and the personal, and form more of a meaningful category of processing that is in association to the self, and often allows us to transcend the self from forming these higher value categories of pursuing an ideal and a grandeur within the development of subjective-objective relations between personal relations and universal relations that are synthesized into self-directed synthetic relations that have these meaningful categories of expression associated with purpose and purposefulness. If you think of a universal, it tends to apply across circumstances and situations, and that's what really defines it as universal. These universal properties and characteristics that we might perceive regarding everyday subjective-objective experiences have important impacts in terms of developing knowledge that is relevant for understanding how various objects in the environment impact us as individuals directly, and how that has an impact on our individual well-being, both through apparent processes that are obvious to us, as well as processes that we might not know, involving conscious awareness and these conscious processes of perception, as well as these unconscious and implicit processes of perception, in which there are perceptual processes and information processes associated in relation to objects that are occurring and subjects that are occurring and operating that influence the meaning that we perceive without our awareness or conscious perception of them directly through our first-person perceptions and experiences. And we often gain access through developing awareness of our own perceptual processes and where these subjective-objective relations are made. So as we develop a greater cognizance of both the personal relations and the universal relations, we are better equipped to form these synthesis between subjective relations that we form primarily within the personal relations, and also personal relations category, as well as the universal relations category, that will allow us to make more effective use of knowledge within meaning, that allows us to optimize the meaning and value within our direct perceptions in relation to objects in the environment, and to develop in this pursuit greater self-knowledge and self-intelligence that is an essential component of living well and living a meaningful life through these optimizing processes of direct perception, and understanding the qualities of our experience more deeply, and the characteristics that are associated with promoting these higher qualities of experience and positive states of being that come from these qualities and characteristics of our direct personal experiences that are meaningful and centralizing directly to the self. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it.